This program has been sponsored by Old Time Italian Cuisine. Located at 612 Boston Street in Lynn, Mass., Old Time offers a variety of authentic Italian dishes ranging from pasta to chicken and more, with delicious desserts and fine wine. Bring your family down to their dining area or enjoy a drink at their full-service bar. Old Time Italian Cuisine. Great, authentic Italian food. The City's Voice is brought to you by Salon 234. Salon 234 is dedicated to delivering the highest quality service. We pride ourselves on being a visionary full-service company specializing in the current hairstyle trends and skincare needs for all different types of skin. Our highly skilled staff are committed to meeting your needs with a spirit of caring and individual attention. Passion for excellence and dedication to the advancement of industry standards will continue to guide the evolution of our company. Come find yourself and unwind yourself.
And good evening. I'm Joe Spurn, along with my special guests, commentators, moderators, the Honorable Mayor Phillips, and the Director of GLIS, Paul Crowley. Welcome, fellas.
Hi, Joe.
Just a little note, I want to thank the folks out there that watch our show and comment on it, and they said how wonderful you fellas did last week with the school committee, but tonight, it's the ward councilors. Arguably, those folks the closest to the public in our structure. Would you say that, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, yes.
And why?
Because they're really where the rubber hits the road. Mm-hmm. But even with that, they still have to rise to the occasion on citywide issues.
So they wear two hats?
Yes.
Yeah. The problem I have is that a city councilor gets the phone call, whether it's 7 days a week, 365 days a year, 12 o'clock in the night, a cat's up a tree.
Especially during a snowstorm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, they catch it all during the snowstorms. And on top of it, they have to intervene with the issues of the city, the overall. It's a tough job. So why don't we get right to the show? This is the rectangular roundtable, by the way, folks. And Paul, why don't you introduce the candidates? We'll have a little discussion. Our phone is 781-596-9641. Call at any time. This is not a debate. It's a discussion, a conversation.
Okay, Joe, thank you. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to welcome all of our candidates. We have 5 races, wards 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. There is a incumbent in 4 of the races and a challenger for each one. And then in Ward 5, there are 2 challengers for an open seat. So go around the room. We have the incumbent from Ward 1, Wayne Losey. We have the incumbent from Ward 3, Darren Sear. We have one of the challengers in the Ward 5 race, Diana Chakutis. A challenger from Ward 2 is Jesse Jager. And the challenger from Ward 4 is Ariana Rosario. And she's not giving me a hard time, so I got that right. All right. And then the challenger from Ward 3 is Ron Mendez. Incumbent from Ward 2 is Bill Trahant. Challenger from Ward 1 is Debbie Plunkett. One of the challengers from Ward 5, Jake Keogh. And the Dean of the City Council and the incumbent from Ward 4 is Rich Colucci. Welcome all to this panel discussion, roundtable discussion, if you will.
And let's have a little, let Richie start, and we'll go around the table, and they'll tell a little about themselves quickly, and then we'll get right to our conversation.
How long do we have, Joe?
What was that?
How long do we have to...
We'll be here for 2 hours.
You have 30 seconds less than you need, just like it always
Whatever you need. You're famous for ditto anyhow.
Yeah.
I mean, brevity is one of the great things that you have.
I'm Rich Colucci. I'm the City Councilor of Ward 4. Thank you for having us. I just want to go through history a little bit. Back in the day when Union Street and the downtown was devastated, I sponsored a council order to have artist lot left up above the commercial property. They said who would move in downtown Lynn. Jonathan Bedard, a friend of ours, was he bought a building on 90 Exchange Street, the gas and light building, and he started it. He started one of the first artist lofts. And I talked to Jim Cardell, who was the president at the time. I said, Jim, we got to go over and see this guy. And we went in, and Jim says to me, look, instead of hindering him, we should get rolling up a carpet for him. Since then, and Bobby Gilbert at the Edison, since then there's 350 or 400 apartments in downtown Yen. Now we have Spinelli's opening up, Ox is opening up, Demetrius is opening up, and I can go on. And Union Street was dilapidated with drug houses, community development, myself. The first infill housing started in Union Street. Now you go down Union Street, there's all single-family homes. So I can go on, but I'll let the other people talk.
But when you go on and on in the future,
Go ahead.
look into that camera.
Okay.
That's where you're supposed to go.
Thanks.
Jake?
Good evening. My name is Jake Keel. I'm running for City Council Ward 5. Thank you for having me, Lynn, City Voice. Thanks the audience for viewing us. I'm running because I'm concerned, I'm passionate about public service. I'm concerned about the daily issues that are impacting on our daily lives.
We'll rotate
in our city of Lynn.
okay?
And I want to be a proactive voices for our residents. I'm a father. I have a daughter, 19 months. My wife, we've been married for more than 10 years. I'm a retail management for more than 10 years at Walgreens and Walmart. I also graduated from Salem State University in 2003. I live on Hanover Street, which is the middle of Lynn, downtown. It's very neglected area, and the reason why I'm running because I want to help improve all of Ward 5, not just my area, from Pine Hill to Linway and downtown. I want to see changes in our ward, such as the business sector, public safety, public health, such as the rodent issue. I want to see the improvement in that in all the areas, and including community involvement. I want to have like a small community meetings when, as a city councilor, have the people in control, department head, to be involved, to come to the meeting at the resident house so they can hear the issue, they can talk to the department heads or any people in control so they can hear the issue that they want to voice their issue or complaints about. That's what I want to do. I want to be connected to the residents as a city councilor, not just making phone calls daily basis. Just come and talk to the resident in person if I have to, and try to get their needs met. Thank you so much.
Debbie Plunkett, Ward 1
candidate. Thank you. Thank you for having me here tonight. Thank you to Lynn Cam. My name is Debbie Plunkett, and I'm a candidate running for Ward 1 City Council. My decision to embark on a career in local government was influenced by two forces in my life. First is my family. I was brought up in a family very committed to public service. It's what I've done my entire life, enjoy doing so. I've also been inspired by the increasing presence of women in government in the Commonwealth. While raising my two boys, DJ and John, I was very involved in community service throughout the schools, breast cancer awareness, the Veterans Appreciation Day parade most recently. This is something that I want to do and that I now have the time to do on a much larger scale. I work part-time hours for Campfire. I'm an anti-bullying instructor, so I visit the Lynn schools, dealing with the kids, dealing with the teachers, dealing with the principals. It's a job I'm passionate about. It's a subject that needs a lot of attention, and I'm very proud of the work that we do there at Campfire. As a homeowner, a parent, and a taxpayer in Lynn, I have the same concerns as everybody else, all of my neighbors, and knocking on doors and visiting people, going to coffee hours. I've developed my platform along with my neighbors' input, and that's to improve constituent services, to deliver services in a timely fashion, economic development throughout the entire city, and of course the waterfront. I want to work to keep our parks clean and safe. Renovation and rebuilding of our schools, that's key. The only way to keep families in our city and to entice people in our city is to have strong schools. And of course, with our most recent news is to advocate for Union Hospital and the importance of Union Hospital not only in Ward 1, but the entire city. We have 90,000 people in the city of Lynn. We need to keep that hospital vibrant. We need to keep it in our city. We need to fight hard for it. I intend to do that on the city council. I will bring honesty, I will bring integrity, professionalism, respect, and open mind, and my strong work ethic. The job of a city councilor is a 2-year term, 24 months. I will dedicate every single day to work hard for every resident in Ward 1 for the entire term, not just during a campaign time, not during part-time hours, not when I get home from a long day at the office. It will be a full-time job for me. That's what I want to do, that's what I'm committed to do, and that's what I pledge to do. And I thank you for having me here tonight.
Councilor Trahan, Ward 2.
Thanks, Joe. I'd like to thank Lynn Cam and the host for having us here tonight. My name's Bill Trahan. I'm the current Ward 2 councilor. I'm a lifelong Lynner, been here for 53 years. I attended all Lynn schools, starting with Avon, then Easton Junior High, which is now the Thurgood Marshall. Graduated Lynn English High School in 1978. I own and operate a fourth-generation roofing company, Trahan Roofing, in Lynn. Something I'm very proud of. We've done a lot of roofs in the city over the years for a lot of people, and very active in the city and community service and giving back to the city. I think that's very important. I first got involved 14 years ago in politics because it was always something I was surrounded by, always enjoyed it, and loved to help people. So that's why I decided to run, got elected, and I just wanted to just continue to stay in it. It's a passion of mine, something that I love love to do every day, and that I'd like to continue that. And I hope that you please consider me Ward 2. Thank you.
Ron, Ward 3 candidate.
Thank you, everybody at Lynn Cam, for hosting this debate, this forum, I guess, tonight. My name is Ron Mendez. I'm running to be the next Ward 3 City Councilor. And the reason I decided to run was because I truly care about the problems that people deal with on a daily basis. Everything from rats and trash to the snow not getting plowed. These are the kinds of things I deal with professionally. I have a long career in municipal government working professionally. I know how to deal with these problems effectively, and I'm hoping to bring that experience to the table here in Lynn. But even beyond that, I see the potential that we have here in Lynn. We have the waterfront, we have the beaches, we have the Lynn Woods, we have the Arts and Culture District. We have so many things going for Lynn, but yet the city seems to kind of be behind the 8 ball a little bit. And I think we need to step it up. We need to raise the bar. And that's another thing that I hope to bring to the City Council is higher expectations from our city officials and from ourselves, quite frankly. So just to tell you a little bit about my community involvement, I'm a member of the Board of Directors of the Lynn Area Chamber of Commerce, as well as the Lynn Community Health Center. I'm also a member of the Lynn Zoning Board of Appeals. So I have extensive experience here in the community, but I've also seen how things are done in other community. My current full-time job is as the business manager for the Department of Public Works in Newton. So I, deal with issues like the right way to negotiate a snow contract or a trash contract, or having proper trash ordinances in place to make sure that enforcement happens. I have a track record and an experience that gets results, and that's what I hope to bring to the table here in Lynn. So I thank you again for hosting this forum tonight, and I look forward to the discussion. Thank you.
Anna Morel Rosario. Welcome, candidate in Ward 4.
Thank you. Am I here? Okay. My name is Ariana Morel Rosario, and I'm running for City Council Ward 4. I wanted to thank Lynn Cam, the moderators, and also the viewers at home for tuning in this evening. I came to Lynn in 1986 as a young 18-year-old single mom. I brought a home near the Diamond District. I started a business 13 years ago. So I've been in Lynn for 27 years. I'm a homeowner, taxpayer, business owner, so I'm very vested into our city and our communities. One of the reasons why I decided to run was because I wanted to be able to bring greater transparency and accountability to our city council and our local government, and assist with bringing strong advocacy for our residents. We have some pressing issues in our city that need to be addressed. And so I would hope that my skill sets will allow me to formulate comprehensive strategies and measures that will solve some of the most pressing problems that we have in our city. I've been fortunate enough to meet with a lot of residents in my ward and individuals from all different socioeconomic backgrounds. And there are some issues that are going on. And individuals are very frustrated. They're very apathetic towards the responsiveness of our government. And so I want to be able to bring greater responsiveness to the citizens in my ward, or the residents in my ward. I want to be able to go in and work with those residents and those communities in my ward that are dealing with very pressing issues such as urban blight, where we have neighborhoods that are just really run down and very depressing to look at and to be in. I want to be able to help the residents. I want to give them some hope. I want to bring unity, motivation, inspiration to my ward. I also want to be able to work on measures that will allow our tax dollars to work for us. More of your tax dollars working for you. So I want to go in and look at some management and financial controls and work on things where we can redistribute the wealth back down to the citizens, to the taxpayers, and maximize the services in our city and our community. So I think that's about it. And I look forward to the roundtable discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Ariana. The incumbent, the challenger from Ward 2, Jesse Jager.
Yeah, I'm not the incumbent yet. Hi, my name is Jesse Jager, and I am running for City Council to be your next Ward 2 City Councilor. I live over off of Williams Ave in the Ingalls Elementary School neighborhood. And my wife and I moved to Lynn looking for a place to raise our kids in a diverse and exciting community. We love the Lynn Woods, we love the Lynn beaches, we love the downtown area where my kids are really involved with the different art scenes down there, and it's just a great community, and I've been excited to work to give back to the community. I have a master's degree in organizational leadership. And I think I've got the skills and the experience to help the council maybe overcome some of the challenges that have happened around communication and get everybody working together. I helped found the Martin Luther King Day of Service here in Lynn that has brought over 200 volunteers into Lynn for the last 2 years on Martin Luther King Day. I helped start Lynn Parents Organizing for a Better Education, because I know that the more our kids, more our parents are involved in our schools, the better our schools will be. I've been a member of the Lynn Community Association Board, a soccer coach with Lynn Youth Soccer, just a really involved person in our community. Why am I running? Well, I'm running because of, my kids, Lauren and Mary, and their friends Diane and Renzo and Chris, and the pack of kids that run around in our backyard, in our neighborhood, because they deserve a bright future with great schools and good youth development organizations that are going to help them grow into healthy citizens in Lynn. I'm running for Mrs. Sorensen, who I met just last weekend, and who's having trouble getting a tree cut down in her front yard that's completely dead. I want to be there to make sure that she gets the services that she deserves. And I'm running to bring new leadership and new ideas and new energy to the city. I believe that we need leadership with vision to move the city forward. Some specific things that I want to do. First, I want to build on Lynn's assets. Over the last 10 years, Lynn has lost over 1,400 jobs. We need real ideas, real plans to bring those jobs back. I want to help get these empty storefronts in the downtown filled up, because it impacts Ward 2, because those empty storefronts mean people not working and less tax revenue. I want to invest in Lynn's future. The Marshall bond vote was a critical first stage, and I'm glad that we're working already to get funding for a new Pickering, but we need to address our buildings in Lynn. An interesting thing I learned when the Marshall bond vote was happening, 10 out of our 17 schools in Lynn were built before 1939. That's a crying shame, and we need to address that. Also, I want to make sure Lynn's government becomes smarter. We need to deal with the rat problem. We have a terrible rat infestation in our neighborhood, in the downtown area, and that needs to get addressed. And we need to make sure that our snow removal is done more adequately and that all roads get served. And then finally, I just want to deliver really great constituent services. If someone calls me as their ward councilor, I'm absolutely going to call them back and work with them to address those issues. You can learn more about my plans and my ideas for the city of Lynn and more about me at my website, which is jessejager.com. I really look forward to meeting you more over the last final weeks of this campaign and to an interesting conversation this evening.
And would like to welcome a candidate for Ward 5 open seat, Diane Kokoudis. How are you?
Good, Elise.
Fine, thank you.
Thank you for having us here tonight. So I'm going to introduce myself. My name's Diana Kokoudis. I'm running for Ward 5. Born and raised in West Lynn. I've been married for 27 years. I have 2 children and 1 granddaughter. Basically, we're looking... Actually, I work full-time at Old Time Italian Cuisine in Lynn. I'm a manager down there. Basically, my speech isn't as long as everyone else's. My goals for the city right now is public safety. Number 1, our streets, our sidewalks, our crosswalks, our parks. We need public safety. Want the quality of life better for our residents of Ward 5 in the city of Lynn. It's basically what I'm here for, what my goals are if elected on November 5th. Thank you.
Next we have Darren Sear running for re-election in Ward 3. I guess as the old timer here tonight, I should mention that I served some 40 years ago with his father while I was a resident of Ward 3. But I'm not taking any sides in this contest. So, Mr. Sear.
Thank you, Mayor Phillips. I'm Darren Sears, the mayor said. I grew up in Ward 3, lived on Herschel Street, built a house 4 blocks over. My brother lives right across the street from me. I'm a graduate from Lynn schools. I went to Avon, as Billy did, into Easton, and then I graduated from Lynn Tech. Both my boys graduated out of Lynn School, 7th generation. I got to congratulate everybody that's sitting there because I know what a tough thing it is to run. I know everybody sitting at the table over here knows. I agree with everything everyone's saying. We all want the same things. We all want better schools, cleaner parks, better snow removal, take care of the rats and the trash and all the other issues. But as Mayor Phillips said, being a ward council, that's where the tire actually hits the pavement. It's probably the toughest job I've ever had. I've had it for 8 years. It's more than a full-time job. It's 2 or 3 full-time jobs. It's 7 days a week. It's every single day, every holiday. It's nighttime. It's just continuous. I've gone through my neighborhood and through my ward for numerous days for the last few years, baiting and putting rat traps out, getting a new Marshall Middle School built. That was one of the biggest things that I wanted to do in my ward. But also being a ward councilor is a citywide thing, taking care of citywide issues as well as just the ward issues. Once we got Marshall Middle School to be approved by the voters of the city of Lynn, now we got Pickering in the pipeline, and probably Harrington will be next after that. It took 3 years to do that, and we got a 90% vote from the public out there to vote for this school. A couple of us put our campaigns aside and just worked on getting that done this past year. Lewis Street, Ocean Street, Eastern Ave, Broad Street, that entire street was just repaved. That's over 2 miles of roadway that was repaved. That's because for 9 months we negotiated with National Grid, and they gave us close to $1 million to do that. That's something that the citywide, is good for the city. I'm running for re-election. I think my record proves for itself. When there's a storm, I'm out there working. When there's snow, I'm out there plowing. When power goes out, I'm out there till the power comes back on. If your cellar's flooded, I'm showing up with a pump and I'm pumping that cellar out. I've cut grass in the parks. I've cleaned them up. I also clean the graffiti off of the buildings, and I stand with neighbors when they have issues with gangs and other problems in their neighborhoods, drugs, no matter what it may be. I'm just asking to continue that and to be your ward councilor. I love this city, and I love being a ward councilor, and I want to continue that. Thank you.
And finally, we have Councilor Wayne Losey from Ward 1. And again, as the old timer, I might point out that I also served with his father many, many years ago, but I believe he was in Ward 2.
That's right, Mayor Phillips. Thank you.
And again, I'm not taking any sides in any of these races, but did want to just pass on my best to both families.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to thank Lynn Cam, the panel, the viewers at home. My name is Wayne Losey. I'm the Ward 1 City Councilor. I'm a lifelong Lynner. I currently work for the Mass Department of Environmental Protection. I've worked for the city prior to that in various capacities, which I believe has enabled me to have a better grasp on city services and understanding how the city operates. I've attended Lynn schools, Lynn public schools, all my life. I've married a Lynn girl, Kathy Bresnahan. Our children have attended all Lynn public schools. I've been the counselor for the last 10 years, and it's been a privilege. I love this job. As Mayor Phillips pointed out, my father was a city councilor 40 years ago, and I enjoy the work that I do. I feel that I've accomplished quite a bit. When I took office 10 years ago, there are 4 parks in Ward 1, and each one of those parks had problems. They were, Gowdy Park was in deplorable condition. When I attempted to secure any kind of public grants or funding, I was told that we were out of that economic zone and we were not eligible for any public funding. I secured private funds. We had that park done over, all new tennis courts, basketball court, and street hockey court. I'm proud to say that it's being used frequently. And it's in great condition. I had the City of Lynn redo the basketball court at Lynn Woods Park. I helped to secure state and federal funds for Flax Pond Park. When you drive by, you'll see the water aerator, the gazebo. There's all new basketball courts, tennis courts, and splash pad in Toddler Park. Magnolia Park is slated to be fixed under the $4 million bond either this year or immediately following in the spring. So that was one of the goals that I had set for when I first became councilor. Another component to accomplishment is my recent anti-dumping bill that was signed by the governor a few months ago. Currently, under statutory law, an illegal dumper can only be fined $300. Under my anti-dumping home rule petition, that person, that violator, can be fined 3 times the cost of cleanup, up to $5,000. The reason that it's a steep fine is, first of all, it hopefully will be a deterrent for any of these would-be dumpers, and then it will establish a fund that the city can use to set up either a household hazardous waste disposal day. It can be used for setting up cameras in blighted areas to catch any of these midnight dumpers. It can be used to clean up our parks. So that's one of the innovative ways that I've looked at a problem and I've solved it. I'm happy to say we secured $5 million in state funding for Wyoming Square down to Flax Pond. Entirely new roadway, curbing, sidewalks, drainage utilities, greenery, major traffic flow improvements. This is something that it's the gateway to the city of Lynn, and it's going to bring people in. They're going to come right through this improvement. They'll see a beautiful park. And In addition to that, I'm bringing renewable energy resources to the city of Lynn. Very soon, the residents of Lynn will see a wind turbine on the Lynnway, and I also would like to see solar panels brought to public housing, various public buildings. This is the wave of the future. This is the direction we need to go. And I just want to thank everybody, and thanks for this roundtable, and I look forward to it. Thank you.
We have to go to a break right now, but we'll be right back with the candidates. Stay tuned.
The City's Voice is brought to you by Salon 234.
My music, leadership, my parents,
practice what I preach,
to make my family proud, my self-perception, my job,
my game,
my dignity. This is why we say no.
The power of the word no gives you the strength you need to persevere. We live above the influence.
The majority of teens in Lynn choose not to use marijuana or alcohol.
Be in charge of you.
This program has been sponsored by Old Time Italian Cuisine. Located at 612 Boston Street in Lynn, Mass., Old Time offers a variety of authentic Italian dishes ranging from pasta to chicken and more, with delicious desserts and fine wine. Bring your family down to their dining area or enjoy a drink at their full-service bar. Old Time Italian Cuisine. Great, authentic Italian food.
And we're back. Our number here is 781-596-9641. Please call to ask the candidates about what they'd like to do, and I'm going to ask for suspension of the rules like we did last week, so we can get the show on the road, huh?
Yeah, let's fire things
All in favor? All
right,
that's it. So let's suspend that. And Paul, before we get to that, you have some updates you have to give us there?
Yes, public service announcements from Lynn Cam. So if you didn't get a chance to see the special city council meeting last night, which was aired on cable to discuss the issues up at Union Hospital, they will be replayed. Let's see, it's starting tomorrow through Sunday. It will be at 2 and 7 o'clock each day. The entire hearing will be replayed, and that will be on Comcast Channel 22 and Verizon Channel 37. Also, this roundtable discussion tonight.
Rectangular
roundtable discussion will also be aired in its entirety starting tomorrow through Sunday, and it will be at 4 p.m. and at 9 p.m. We hope that if you don't get a chance to see it all tonight, maybe if you're going to watch the Red Sox or what have you, that you'll pick up where you left off later in the week. So with that said, remember it's Comcast Channel 22, Verizon Channel 37, and that special city council was quite an event. You should check it out if you haven't had a chance to.
Speaking of that, Paul, that's not a good way to start out, but even though that Union Hospital happens to be a city issue, it's peculiar to Ward 1, I'm sure, right? Because Wayne and Debbie, you're probably hearing a lot about it. So why don't we throw that out there, and whoever wants to start with it can. Union Hospital. Billy, let me go with you. You said, hey, I'm sick and tired of having all these problems dumped on us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I know a guy that made that quote 30 years ago from your ward. Yeah, keep going with that.
But no, yeah, that last night that just truly upset me. It was like, it's a deal that was, you know, I feel as though it was already done. They misled us.
Okay.
They never told us about it, and you know, we find out last minute from like other communities and like from Salem and like Leahy Clinic, and It just, you know, the whole situation. We kept losing services every year up there, and I was just totally upset by it. Now we're going to bring people from Lawrence, from their, you know, psych ward down into Lynn, and I just, you know, I totally disagree with it. We already have a methadone clinic. I think that we do our, you know, I
But
think
you're not
Lynn
an
does its fair
insensitive
share.
guy. You don't like compassion, do you?
Oh, no.
But people question that sometimes, you know. Wayne, it's in your ward. You got to be hearing from about this.
Oh, absolutely, Joe. It's a very important issue to the residents of Lynn, Ward 1, and myself. We're very concerned with loss of medical services. I don't have a problem with psychiatric or behavioral care issues. We already have that there at Union Hospital. We have geriatric psychiatric services. We have juvenile psychiatric services. And I'm glad that we have that there at that hospital. It's a well-rounded hospital. We just don't want to lose that hospital and the character of it, and the wonderful testimonies we heard last night from nurses and employees of that hospital describing the care that these people give, and it's just, it's important. It's vital for the community to have that hospital there, and I'll do whatever I have to do to see that partners in North Shore Medical Center do the right thing, and that they will start to listen to us and to the public.
Talking about in its current form, that the hospital remain basically. You would like to respond to that, I'm sure, Debbie.
Absolutely, and when people say it's a hospital in our backyard, literally for me and my neighbors, it is literally in our backyard. And I was disappointed with the decision partners made as far as this hospital being transformed into psychiatric care alone. You know, I agree actually with Councilor Lozzi. Everybody is entitled to any care, behavioral, mental health. I think it's one and the same. Mental health affects your physical health. But with that being said, when I think that partners sat down at the table and said, okay, we have Little Theater Nursery School across the street, we have Linwood School Elementary, we have Shoemaker School, and we have a nice, thickly settled residential area. This is a prime location for a psychiatric hospital, period. Doesn't make sense to me personally, and I went to the meeting last night, and I think well over 100 people attended, and it was great to see so many people fill the chambers and speak from the heart, and people got emotional. For many different, everybody has their own reasons for coming to that meeting and standing up for this hospital, and I will do everything to advocate for Union and keep this. It needs to stay, and the service is disappearing slowly, one by one. It's sad and it's disheartening. And
anybody have any strong feelings about it? Anybody else? Pine in. Go ahead.
You know, the thing, if I was a caller right now, the thing I'd be calling in asking is, why do we keep on getting surprised by this stuff? I feel like, you know, it happened with the Lowe's development that only died when the Great Recession hit. We only got stopped that because of the recession. That things like this seem to sneak up on us, and it feels like to me that people knew that this was coming. And I'm just wondering, you know, why haven't we been taking on? Why haven't we been encouraging that hospital to go in other directions, to grow in other fields, to be more of a full service hospital? I mean, I feel like in a lot of ways, Salem is eating our lunch in terms of development, and you know, they've been able to develop this great North Shore hospital up there, and it's just sucking services away from it's turned our hospital into like a satellite hospital. So I think we need folks that are going to have a vision, that are going to take these challenges on and be looking out forward at what the challenges are going to be to make it so we don't become surprised.
You're saying we lack vision. Anybody else? Yes.
Sure. I'd just like to talk a little bit about it, because I being on the board of the Lynn Community Health Center, we've had some discussions about this particular issue.
Were you aware that things were going to happen when you were sitting on that board?
We were. Well, I mean, people have known that there have been gradual movement of staff from Union Hospital to Salem Hospital for.
Can I stop you for a second? Were any of the councils here aware of it?
Yeah.
So, the point was, is this correct, or am I reading it properly? The point is that what you were aware of and what happened are two different stories. Billy, is that what you said? Is that right, Rich?
Yeah.
Okay.
The psych part wasn't in play at the time. I know that, you know, if you go to Union Hospital, they don't have the trauma. It's already moved to Salem. I know this because I had some issues back in the day. Paul visited me. So
Oreo cookies.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you. Get back, Bob.
No, but I think I was wrong, by the way.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. No, but I just think it's, you know, we've known that this has been coming. So I don't think this is entirely a surprise, although it is the announcement certainly was a surprise to people. There's certainly people in the neighborhood that really didn't know anything that was going on at all. Just a couple of corrections of the record. Lawrence Memorial Hospital, which is one of the hospitals that they'll be transferring from, is actually located in Medford. It's not in Lawrence, just as a point of reference. But one of the things that we discussed, one of the specific things, was the security concern. And one of the things I would want to ask is, what is their security plan? Because obviously they're going to be taking in people that have problems. Thank you. And we want to make sure that they don't walk out the front door, basically. So if I were negotiating with them, I would want to know what their security plan is. That's the biggest concern that we had, you know, when I was just talking with people at Lynn Community Health behind closed doors. A couple of good things that they are integrating, just so that we know it's not all bad. But there are a couple of good things. One of the things that they're doing that we've actually pioneered at Lynn Community Health is the integration of primary care with behavioral health, mental health services, so that we can recognize when somebody is not right and we can help steer them to services directly. And they are expanding the urgent care. Urgent care is a step below an emergency room. It's where you go when you're sick, but you don't need the emergency room. So it gives people an option besides using the emergency room as their primary care physician, which is a concern that exists everywhere across the country. So,
Anybody else before we move on? Anybody?
Well,
Yeah.
I just want to say I disagree that I don't see any good in this at all. Salem Hospital, the reason why so much is moving up there, and it's been doing this for more than 20 years, when they moved the oncology department out of there back in the mid-90s and brought it up into Salem, is because of the amount of land Salem has up there. They're limited as to what they can do in their expansion up at Union Hospital, so it's more of a money issue for the hospital at the expense of the residents of the city of Lynn. We need to have a hospital here that provides all the services that Union does, not just a few basic services, whether it has to deal with mental health or an emergency, because an emergency to somebody is more than just a cut on the hand. To them, it's a life-threatening cut on the hand. So we need to keep those services here in the city, as Wayne said, at all costs. So
I'd like to turn to the mayor, because during your tenure, if I'm not mistaken, there was Lynn Hospital, there was Union Hospital, I mean, and we had a lot of doctors living on Ocean Street.
Yes. Yes.
Would you like to comment on that? I mean,
Well,
you know, this is a little, talk about history, Richie. You brought up history.
There was the same kind of discussion that I'm hearing here tonight of when the Lynn Hospital decided that they would shut down and create a shopping center, and then everything would move to the Union Hospital. And it sounds like we're seeing just a continuation of that. And obviously, anybody that drives over by Salem Hospital, you can see the expansion is really going.
But why is the psychiatric aspect of it? And you know, this is almost sounds to me, and I hate to say this, but it's like not in my neighborhood type of situation, you know. And I guess it gets to the point where too many problems are cast on the Lynn. You folks have to face that every day. Do you not on the Lynn City Council and those who? Diane, I mean, you know, you're coming with a new. Let me ask this question. Throw out a general question. And Paul, it's actually your question about what committee they would serve on.
We're going to change the topic. Was there anybody else that wanted to speak on the union? I think Jake did.
Make one comment. Last night we heard from the CEO of North Shore Medical Center, Bob Norton, that these talks are not over. They're going to continue, and they're having a smaller neighborhood meeting next week, and then they're going to invite the entire city Where that venue will be will have to be determined. But there is a process. There is a determination of need filing with the Mass Department of Public Health. And frankly, if this doesn't go in the best interest of Lynn, I'm going to advocate that the City of Lynn appeal any kind of determination of need. And if be, I'll request the Attorney General to look into this. Lynn needs the core medical services that Union Hospital provides, and we need to keep that hospital in Lynn.
I just want to voice my opinion about it. I feel it's a loss that they're doing it to Union Hospital. It's going to be inconvenient for the resident of Lynn if there's an emergency that they need to go to. I used to work at a Union Hospital more than 20 years ago as a janitor. When I was in high school, I took the job. I was a good janitor. I actually slipped on my own floor wash, and it was really hurt. I still remember it. Anyways, I feel it's a loss. I love that hospital, that hospital inpatient. That's all I want to say.
Anybody else? Ariana?
Well, I just think that, as long as they have urgent care, I think that many individuals, some people will choose to go to another hospital for services anyway. As long as they have urgent care, if you're very seriously injured, Salem Hospital is 5 minutes up the road in an ambulance. And I just think that we have to let a certain process play out, because this is a private enterprise and they do have their business models. Certainly the city can have discussions with this corporation or this, and figure out what their needs are, but ultimately they're going to make a decision as a private company. So.
If I may, I think everybody needs to realize that it's our community and they're here to serve us, and we all need to remember that.
Right, okay. But they're a private company, and so, we can influence people, but we can't control a private company.
Diana?
It needs to be worked out. We need a hospital in the city of Lynn. The size of the city, we can't go without emergency care. Maybe we should do a trial run for partners where they live. Let's try it in their neighborhoods, see how it works out with security and see how they like it. Then maybe bring it back to Lynn. Let them try it out first in their own neighborhoods.
I think everybody, is there anybody that didn't get a chance? I think we did get everybody. So let me just go out to the callers and say, if you wanted to call in and ask any of the ward councilors and the candidates a question, the number is 781-596-9641. That's 781-596-9641. And while we're waiting for some calls to come in, we're going to change the topic a little bit. As the incumbents know, that there are a number of different committees on the City Council that deal with a number of different issues. You have Ways and Means, you have the public property, you have public safety, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And there are a number of committees, and so anybody who is elected will need to get on some of those committees. And we'd like to just ask people to talk maybe about, if you're an incumbent, which committees you're on and what you do on them and why they're important to you. And if you're a challenger, if you can talk about which committees you would like to be on and why.
Let's narrow that. Let's make it only one committee, so we can get the topics moving faster rather than a litany of them.
So limit it to one committee, your favorite.
What committee do you most like serving on if you're currently on the council, and why? And which one would you want to serve on should you be elected, and why?
And let's start with Jake.
Oh, thank you. Well, right when you ask that question, right in my mind, I know that what committee I'm going to be on. I want to be on business development. What committee is that?
Economic development.
Yes, that's it. I want to be on that because I know I have a strong background in business administration. I had a degree in business, been in retail for for many years, and I know how to bring business back in our city, to our ward. And I want to increase. The three ways that we can do that is commercial tax rate reduction, tax incentive, business promotion. Those are the three entities that I believe that it will bring us the business back in our city and keep the business in our city stay, so that we won't lose them. Thank you.
Diana?
I'd say the DPW. I'd like to be on the committee there to see how they actually run, how they get organized to figure out what streets are being paved, when they're cutting down trees, what section of the city goes first, how they actually decide how they're going to do everything in the city. So I'm going with DPW.
Ariana?
Well, one of the measures that I wanted to implement when I become elected is I want to form a charter committee, because I feel that there are some very important comprehensive changes that need to be made to our charter that will affect the way that our government is functioning and how it can function better towards communication and other issues that are affecting our residents. So I would like to be on the charter committee.
The Ways and Means and Finance.
Ron?
Sure. My experience, obviously, are in two areas: are public works and finance. I know I'm supposed to limit it to one, but I can't do that. No, public works, I think I could bring a lot of good ideas to the table. I'd like to know what our operational plan is for snow removal. I'd like to know if we have an operational plan for snow removal, because quite honestly, my experience last winter was the snow removal process was abysmal. It was 7 days after the blizzard when I went to work in Newton and the streets were cleared, and I came home and I couldn't park my car because there are mounds of snow where cars are supposed to be parked. I'm just convinced that there really isn't much of a plan. Another thing that concerned me about the winter was last December we passed a $4 million bond. There was no talk about the DPW needing roughly $2 or $3 million worth of equipment at that time. But when the blizzard happened, we suddenly found out that they needed a lot of equipment to be replaced. So public works.
We're going to stop for 1 second and we'll get right back to that question. A caller on line 1, Rick, referencing the Union Hospital. Hi, Rick. Rick?
Yes. Hello?
Rick?
Yes.
Yeah, ask your question, make your comment, whatever.
Oh, okay. What I wanted to ask was, when Lynn Union Hospital shut and they moved from Boston Street and moved up to Union Hospital, there was a big complaint about private health care and hospitals. And we were worried about this. Partners did well for years. The staff up there was great. The nurses up there were great. Why can't we look at just telling them, I don't know the legalities, move them out of the city, we don't need you here no more, and expand Lynn Community Health up into those buildings to provide more services, and say, this is what we were worried about when you shut Boston Street, where my daughter was born.
Anybody want to comment on that?
Yeah,
Billy?
That's actually a great question. I totally agree with the caller. I think if this is the way that Partners is going to go and put up there in Ward 1 what they're going to leave there for services, I say we close it, really. It's just going to be a detriment to the people that surround it. I mean, you're talking about bringing down their tax dollars and, their values of their homes. You heard people last night talk about them breaking out of the hospital and coming into their houses. There was one that there was a home invasion. I mean, this is just going to, it's just going to increase. And then you're putting the tax on our police department constantly going up there, chasing them around. So I really, if it's going to come to this, I actually wanted to say that last night to Mr. Norton. I'd like to say, if this is the route you're going to go, then please close the hospital. Then don't ruin the whole city up there. So.
Go ahead. It's a good discussion. Ron?
I'd be happy to weigh in a little bit because the Lynn Community Health Center was mentioned, but not that I'm speaking for the Lynn Community Health Center. I want to make that clear. I'm just giving my opinions. But we just invested a lot of money in building a new building at Lynn Community Health. Obviously, expanding up to Union Hospital is just not practical. And I think that's an important thing to remember. What is and is not practical. I mean, we could, as an emotional response, say shut the hospital, but then what is that going to be? What is that going to look like 2, 3, 5 years from now? A big empty building on Linfield Street. That doesn't make sense either. And as was mentioned before, we are talking about a privately owned entity. And to some extent, city government can't control that. That's not the way we operate here in America. The government just doesn't take over what we don't like. So,
And?
I'd be happy to
I see an
defer.
agreement there.
Of course, I already said that.
Anybody else? Dave? Darren?
I know it's a private company, but it has a huge impact on the entire community as well as the city. So I believe we do have a big say as to what goes on there. If it was the GE or something like that were trying to build jet engines and create jobs and all this other, you're talking completely apples and oranges. I got to tell you, I just disagree with that philosophy that they're a private company and we don't have any say as to what they do up there. What they're talking about is a lockdown facility with over 100 patients that are going to be there. Councilor Trahan's correct that it will have some kind of an impact on our police department because they're going to be going up there. The reason why they don't have the jails and places to put some of these people that have to be in these lockdown facilities is because of the amount of damage that they do. And you're going to need some highly qualified security people that go in there. I agree with what Ron said earlier.
One second. Where were our psychiatric patients, residents going before this? Salem Hospital? Do you see the same issues going on at Salem Hospital Psychiatric Unit, people busting out and a threat to the community? I think that there are, they have security measures in place, and I agree with Ron that you'd want to see one, but I think this is a lot of fear mongering.
Well,
I have a DMH house. I didn't finish, Darren.
Neither did I.
I have a DMH house that is located on my street. On my street. And we don't have any issues. I think that we need to stop projecting a lot of fear.
Well, let me ask this. You mentioned Salem Hospital.
Can I just jump in there?
Yeah, sure, of course. It's your show.
I disagree with it because they do have those problems and those issues at Salem Hospital and all the other hospitals. And the reason why they want to move it into Lynn is because they have those issues. And as Councilor Trahan said last night, Lynn always is the dumping ground. And, you take a look at my brother's table. They do a lot of good work down there. But the majority of people who sit on that board don't live in the city. It's not impacting them in other communities. The same thing with the methadone clinic that's downtown, down on the Linway. So Lynn does become the dumping ground. And I've lived here for 54 years, and I'm sick and tired of it, to be perfectly honest with you. It's going on, and it's going to happen up in Ward 1 if they bring this hospital up there. It's becoming a dumping ground, and it's that simple.
We have a caller on line. Menomi? Is it Menomi? Mamoni.
Hi.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
You're in reference to the show.
I have a question on the school, the new school that's being built in the city of Lynn. I'm a resident of Lynn. I live on Porter Street. And we have the Marshall Thurgood Middle School on Porter Street. I learned that a new school was being built because the old school is very old. Why aren't we renovating this new school, but we are investing tons of money in building a new school? I don't see no reason why we should build a new school. We can renovate this new school and have a new state-of-the-art than waste more money in building a new school. I don't see it. And I have a comment because I live next door to the school, and I was very surprised that nobody stopped by, put a letter under the door. This is what we're trying to do. City councilor never stopped in the area to visit us, see what was going on. All we heard was things going on in the news, But now we have these same city councilors that want to be back in office. I don't understand it.
Yes, that's your ward.
Thank you. First of all, the reason why they're not going into that school and refurbishing the school is because of the cost. It would cost twice as much money to do it, and would take twice as long to do it. It would have a huge impact on the neighborhood. That's the first reason. There were numerous neighborhood meetings. There was numerous letters that were sent out in that area. This has been going on for 3 years. We had meetings at least 4 times in Marshall in the cafeteria. The reason why you weren't notified or how long you've lived in that neighborhood, I don't know, but I personally have been in that neighborhood knocking on doors on Jackson Street, Porter Street, Essex Street, Sewell Street, that entire area. You know, it would cost to refurbish that building over $50 million. Plus, it would take up to 3 to 4 years to do it. If you were to tear down the building, you'd have to do it in stages. You'd have to find a place to house the kids that are going there, that are being educated. It would take between 5 and 8 years to do that. This way here, we're going to get a brand new school. It's going to cost us about $90 million to do it. It's going to be a bigger school than what we have. There's going to be an increase of students that are going to be coming there over the next few years. It's going to be completely state-of-the-art, and it's going to be set up so that they can do what they call cluster teaching. And it also puts us into the pipeline so we can get a new Pickering. And we wouldn't be able to do that until Marshall has been taken care of.
That's anybody?
Sure, I'd like to jump in. Just I want to agree with Darren on what he said, that it's important that that we do invest in new infrastructure. One of the issues that we have in the city is it has been so long since we built new schools and made substantial investments in the buildings that we do have. And it's been so long that the current infrastructure in the current Marshall School it's dilapidated. It's really falling apart. And it's important that we build a new building. And another important thing that I'm sure Darren would have mentioned is that the state funding scheme for new schools versus renovating old schools, the state makes a determination as to whether or not they're going to renovate or allow us to renovate on their dime, or whether or not we should build a new school. And in this case, they said they were not going to pay if we wanted to renovate the old school. So the only way to get the state funding, which is about 54 million, if I'm correct, 50 or so million of the 92 million, it's 80% of a portion of it, is if we built a new school. So we would have actually lost all that funding if we didn't build a new school, and we wouldn't have been able, and we would have been behind the 8 ball for the pipeline to build additional new schools.
In 1 second, because we have to remind the caller wanted to have us say who's running against whom. And it's really difficult with this format, so we'll get to Jesse as soon as we well, that's your job.
It's my job, yes. So Jesse, maybe you can talk about the committee that you would like to be on.
No. The caller wants to know who's running against who. In other words, Billy is running against Jesse.
Okay, let's start at the top. Ward 1.
Right.
And maybe we can get the camera shot.
Wayne Losey. Challenger.
And Debbie Plunkett.
Right. Ward 2.
Ward 2, we have Bill Trahant and Jesse Jager.
Ward 3.
We have Darren Sear and Ron Mendez.
Ward 4.
We have Rich Colucci and Ariana Morel Rosario.
And in Ward 5,
we have 2 challengers. It's Jake Keogh and Diana Chakutis.
I hope that you folks did. I hope that cleared everything up. Jesse, I'm sorry to have cut you off. You want to comment on the pipeline, the school, the funding?
Well, right. Well, I just wanted to add that, beyond Marshall, I mean, as I said, 10 out of our 17 schools in Lynn were built before 1939. We have a terrible, terrible crisis going on in terms of the condition of our schools right now, and moving to another building, building a new building, is going to allow us some swing space as we move through to replace those things. Plus, we have a terrible overcrowding situation going on. We need to create more flexible space, more modern educational space that can expand and contract when class sizes increase and decrease. 15 years ago, Lynn sold off a bunch of school buildings, and now we're suffering the consequences. My kids are in classes with 30, 32 kids in it, and that's not a good educational environment. And so we need more educational space, more modern educational space across the city.
Let me make a clarification here. On the funding, sometimes I feel that the bill of goods was a little bit skewed. For example, there's 80% of 80 million or 90 million is not accurate. Anybody want to comment on the funding aspect? Yeah, Dave.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I keep thinking of your dad.
Let me tell you, that's a compliment.
Well, I'm glad you said that.
don't mind being called Dave.
Yeah.
It doesn't cover all the costs. There's other costs involved in it that we have to take land, eminent domain. There's about $4 million worth of land that we're taking, 3 homes. That's not all covered under it. Some of the engineering and design isn't all covered under it. Plus, how much it costs.
Let's get to the net bottom line. 90 million, if that's what it costs, the state is only going to go up to 53 million no matter what.
Right.
So that means that there's a $37 million charge, not an $18 million charge. You talked about we need schools. You talk about we need schools. Everybody says we need schools. We do.
Right.
But given the economic climate, you know, tonight as we're having it here, besides the Red Sox, they're trying to figure out whether they're going to shut down the government and about the cap. And you folks are going to have to feel that sooner or later. So if you're going to go on a construction binge at $30 million a clip, and you're talking 4 or 5 schools, where's the gin going to come from?
That's not going to happen.
Yeah. We got to talk about that.
You're going to see a new middle school for Marshall. You'll probably see a new Pickering, because they're 2 of the worst schools in the state condition-wise. We need to do that. And even if we decided not to vote in favor of Marshall, what would have happened is they would have given us 3 more months to go back and get the voters to agree to vote for Marshall. If we didn't at that point, we'd have to start the whole process all over again to get funding. Once Marshall is done, we're in the pipeline. For Pickering, that's like a 4-year process, to be honest with you, to get that money. The way the state does it is they allow up to a certain amount per square footage, and I believe it's $275 that they're going to give us the 80% back. And it's probably going to cost us about $325 a square foot to build a building. That's why you see the differences right there.
Well, we're going to move that on. Anybody want to comment? Jesse, you talked about all the schools.
Well, I'll just add, my wife.
Are you going to commit the city to a couple of $100 million? I shouldn't say that.
Hey, let me answer that. My wife's actually a principal in the Boston Public Schools, and they're in the process of going to be moving. The school that she's going to be moving to, they're going to be moving to not a new building, but a different building. And one of the things they're going to be doing is, it's a green themed STEM school. They want to renovate that building to be a green LEED certified building, and they're going to go out and they're going to get a lot of private dollars to help do that. I mean, that's the kind of stuff we have to do. We have to think out of the normal funding models to do that. We need to look at ways to get our schools fixed. And the issue is that past leadership in this city has left us with a terrible deficit on our buildings. Our buildings are in terrible condition. My kids are in one of the more modern schools in the city, and it was built in the 50s. And if you go to Beverly or if you go to some of these other communities, they'd be throwing a fit if their buildings were the condition that our buildings are in.
We have a caller. Paul? Paul, how are you? Paul?
Good evening, gentlemen.
And I really don't know what you're going to ask, so ask it.
Well, that's why I do this, because sometimes I just want to be spontaneous. All right? First of all, I want to say there's no compromise on Union Hospital staying right here in Lynn and being the best hospital that it's always been. Second of all, I got a question for the candidates, the challengers. My question to the challengers is, moving forward, if you're elected to the city council, can you tell me, besides trash and rats, what you can do better than the present person in office now? Thank you.
Go ahead, Debbie.
Thank you for that question. I've been knocking on doors in Ward 1 since April. Again, our DPW is completely understaffed, under-budgeted. There was a vote taken, and the vote, we discussed this at the debate at the Knights of Columbus. This is a big difference between myself and Councilor Lozzi. There was a vote taken for the DPW, for the budget, and the DPW is understaffed. 3 councilors rejected the budget. They wanted to send it back to the mayor for further review. I brought this up at the debate. Councilor Lozzi approved that budget. I brought this up at the debate at the Knights of Columbus. Councilor Lozzi said, well, that was a unanimous vote. Untrue. That was not a unanimous vote. 3 councilors rejected it. Brought it up at the debate. Councilor Lozzi said, well, there would have been disastrous results if I did not approve that budget. It had to be approved. Not true. Nothing disastrous would have happened if the city council stood together and rejected that budget. What would have happened, according to the city attorney who was there that night, the council asked, what happens if we reject it? The city attorney said the mayor would run the city on a 1/12 budget. It would run month to month until the budget could be approved in the future. That's not disastrous. You need to have a strong voice. The constituents call a city councilor and they complain over and over again. I've been on a list for years. And the city council cannot add money to the budget. I understand that. The city council can't go and miraculously make everything disappear, the snow disappear, and fix your potholes immediately. So what can the city council do? What can your councilor do? Your councilor can go to the meeting and speak on behalf of every single person that has called and complained about the potholes. I talked to a father who plows his own road because he has a son with serious medical conditions. He is terrified when it snows, because he's convinced that an emergency vehicle will not get to his house and will not tend to his son. Now, this man pays his taxes. This man lives in the city of Lynn. This man should not be plowing his road. He should not be doing anything like that. A city councilor has to speak on behalf of their neighbors and their constituents. Councilor Lozzi had an opportunity to do so. He could have rejected the budget and said, you know what, there's not enough money in the DPW. We'll send it back and let's see what happens. He approved the budget. It was not a unanimous vote. It was 7-3. One councilor was not present. I was present. I was in the audience. I thought it was a no-brainer. But apparently, not all the councilors thought that it was important enough to
Mr. Lozzi.
to reject it.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you for the question, by the way, because I wasn't allowed to rebut this at the debate. So
Yeah,
this is a
but
perfect
now his opportunity, and then
Yeah.
any of the other councils, because I think they were indicted a little bit on that one too. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Joe. And I will, Deb, you're right. I thought it was a unanimous vote. I look back on the record, it was a 7-3 vote. And I think that the point here is not what the vote was, but what's happening with our DPW. We heard earlier this evening, one of the candidates mentioned that the capital improvement plans for the DPW was only brought up after a snowstorm in 2012. I'm the chairman of the Department of Public Works. We've brought it up since 2010. We've had the DPW before that committee. We've looked at the needs that they've had, and we've brought it to the mayor's attention. And I'm not happy any more than my colleagues are, Bill and Darren and Rich and other ward councilors. There are some deficiencies with the DPW. They have not had any real hiring in the last 4 or 5 years. Through attrition, the numbers have gone down. Services are suffering under the DPW. And again, as my opponent pointed out, we can't add to the budget. We can only cut. So that's not the solution. Voting no on the budget or to grandstand and say you're not going to approve a budget is not going to solve the problem. Solving the problem is looking for innovative ways, advocating for the constituents. And if anyone has a problem, and I'm hearing about somebody plowing their street, they didn't call me, because if they're not getting plowed, there's some problems, and the DPW will respond to that. I heard at the last debate, my opponent mentioned somebody waiting a year or more for a slow children sign. Call me, I'll get that up within a week. Now, if you have sidewalks, Joe, you know when you were a counselor, back then when my father and Mayor Phillips, you'd get federal funding, you could do entire streets sidewalks. Today, the DPW has to triage. They basically can't do entire streets sidewalks. But if you have a problem with your sidewalk, we'll get it done. The other thing that I have to point out is if somebody asks for a repaired sidewalk, would like a sidewalk repaired, well, we're in October now, and there's a list that's lengthy. It may get done this year, but the asphalt plants close in December. They don't open until the spring. That work can't commence for almost 4 months. So there are delays with repairs, but the services, they're sufficient. They need to improve, but things are getting done. So I disagree.
I'm going to get right to you, Billy, because you had your hand up, but I want to go to the guy that was the head of the DPW, because he's heard all of this. You've heard this before. What is the problem today? I mean, you've analyzed this.
Well, in our day, 40 years ago, or then maybe 45 years ago, Public Works was one big organization. There was no Water and Sewer Commission, so we had everything under one roof.
Including the snow.
Snow. And we had somebody had mentioned an operations plan. We had an excellent operations plan. In fact, Mayor Mann from Newton came down to look at our snow operations plan at the time, and with his Public Works commissioner. And it was a very well-run operation. I can't speak to it 40 years later.
What happened? Because all we're hearing about is complaints in the DPW. Billy?
Yeah, I'd just like to talk on this because I was actually one, along with Darren Sear, who started this thing with the mayor about holding up her budget because of the DPW. Because we get the calls. Darren and I were out probably, and along with Pete Capano, he was the third vote, we were out for probably a week after the blizzard with my own equipment, doing a lot of the dead ends and streets that hadn't got done. People hadn't gone to work for 3-4 days. So that's why I was so adamant about it. It's why we fought for it. It's why Councilor Sear and Capano, stood fast with me, because it was, it's an important thing. People need to go to work. And also back, and I know, I know Mayor Phillips will agree with me, back in like 1978 when we had the blizzard, because I was 18 years old and plowed in it for a week for the city, there was 100 employees back at DPW. That's what needs to be done now. There's more streets now. There's more people. There's more services that need to, to be provided.
Sometimes in 1969, the winter of '69, January, February, March, we had 3 blizzards.
Yep.
It got to the point where we had to bring the Army in,
right,
with bulldozers. The windrows were piled right up to the roofs of stores, and
absolutely.
In those days, we had to just get the 7 ward councilors and the rest of the council and say, we've never seen anything like this, to get 3 blizzards in a row, and there was nowhere to take the snow.
Right.
So we got snow blowers in from the government and emergency, and we finally got it cleaned up.
Yeah.
And then there were steps taken the following year to have the right equipment if that were to happen again.
Right.
I got to stop it because we have something specific, Jake, to your ward, and Diane, a question from Christina. Christina, how are you this evening? Christina? Hello? Question for Ward 5 plan to clean and...
Oh, hello?
Yeah, Christina, you're on. Your question.
And services and a lot of complaints from the residents. Also, we're hearing that there's not enough funding.
Hello?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. This is Christina?
Yes, this is.
Yeah, what was your question, Christina?
Yes, I'm calling because I reside in Ward 5, and over the last 6 years, there's been an increase of rooming homes along with just filth throughout the city, throughout this sector. Are there any plans to clean it? And what are we going to do about the rooming houses?
city, if they're not being cleaned up, you'll have to call inspectional services. They will go down, check out the situation. They will send the landlord or whoever owns the house a fine that it has to be cleaned up. And what was the other part of the question? Basically, she wants to know what can be done?
Yes, basically what could be done, you know.
Well, basically, you have to go through inspectional services first. They're going to have to go down, send inspectors down to make sure if the grass isn't cut, if there's trash laying around, they will find them, they will find the landlord. And from there, the city we just keep calling and finding out what will happen from there. Just keep calling the ward councilor. Rooming houses are tough. If the landlord does not live in the city of Lynn and people that live in the homes are not taking care of the property, it's difficult. The landlords need to sit down and educate the people living in there, trying to tell them where to put the trash. You can't make a mess in these homes. This is why we do have a rat problem. So that's my answer.
I have an opportunity to drive around with liaison police, community police officer, and there's a two buildings. It's called the halfway house. It's the house that has a lot of people that are drug addiction, and they all live it together, and they cause trouble. He complains to me that those two buildings he has to call the most to come over and like I say to stop the problems. Like Darren Sears just mentioned about Lynn as a place where people come because we have so much rehab center. They come from other city and they get free treatment, and then they stay and then they live together. We should not let 10 bad people live together in one single building. When you put 10 bad people living together, they're going to cause problem and chaos. So we have to work with the landlord, with the city inspector, and the police department, and city official. We have to find a way to work to try to separate them so that they check their background so they won't live in the same building together and cause trouble. And we also need to get the landlords together and punish the landlord. The absentee landlord are one of the most problem too. They don't live there and they just collect rent and they don't take care of their problem. They don't take care of the trash issue and stuff. And what we need to do is to get the landlord together and solve this problem.
Well, I owe Ariana, but we got someone on the line, and Rob, you'll get your hand up, but there's a caller, Joe, about Pickering, I guess. Joe, how are you? Love
Hello?
the name. Joe, how are you?
Pretty good.
You have a question?
Yes, I do.
Well, don't hold it as a secret now.
I read in the local paper where there was going to be a new Pickering Middle School built. Correct?
I didn't quite, yeah.
Yeah, real quick. That's not going to be for at least 5 to 7 years. We're still going through the process. We got to take care of Marshall first. While we're in the process of doing that, we're in the pipeline to get funding from the state to do a new Pickering. So it's going to be a little while before that's done.
Yes, but my question is this going to be a totally new school in a different area?
We don't know that because we have to do a study.
Yes, and I just want to remind the viewers that what Councilor Sear said is probably correct, but that's when it's finished. I think this process needs to get started in the next year or two,
right.
And that's what we need to do, and I think my colleague and all my colleagues are in agreement that Pickering Junior High School, which is older than Marshall Middle School, needs to be replaced. It can't, as we discussed earlier, we can't renovate it. It needs a new school.
Okay, I'm going to get over. Grossman was there today, as a matter of fact, when it's touring at school. I'm sorry, Ariana.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we to go back to what I was talking about, the issues with the DPW, a lack of services, a lack of funds. Well, we take in over $250 million in tax revenue in this city, which is a substantial amount of tax revenue. So the question then becomes, why are we having these problems in terms of services? Less than 18% of those funds are going to services. So then the other question is, so if that's the case, then why are we paying a department head whose salary, according to the charter, is supposed to be $89,000? Why are we paying that department head $160,000?
PhD.
These are some of the issues that, these are problematic issues. You cannot take in more than $250 million in tax revenue and have most of that money being redistributed to the top. That is backwards financial and economic policy. It's supposed to be redistributed towards services.
Let me ask this, of that $250 million you're talking about, that's the overall budget in the city of Lynn, roughly?
266.
All right. But much of it comes from state.
I was just going to say that, Joe. State aid is probably half of that for
It's
the
all
schools.
taxes. It's all tax revenue.
But what happens if the state, and this
That
could
is
happen
true.
now, what happens if the state shuts the spigot? That's the same problem with the construction of schools. Once the economy takes a dip, the city, this happened under Proposition 2.5. I have institutional memory here, so doesn't the mayor. These things are going to happen, and you talk about foreplanning, you have to foreplan about less. I hear a lot of people talk about more, more, more. Nobody's talking about less, 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 which is probably the future.
Well, I just want to educate these gentlemen.
Yeah, go ahead.
Grants are money's tax revenue. They are money's tax revenue that is redistributed to cities and towns. So grants are tax monies coming from taxpayers. Okay. So the issue now becomes, we need to implement, and these are one of the issues that I want to address. I want to go in and implement budgetary controls, management audits, financial audits, and also repeal a lot of these incentives that are going to the department heads at top so that we can begin to distribute the money into services. I also want to implement a property tax rebate program because I have a lot of urban blight in my ward. I want to do that along with some other measures, dealing with some community block grant funds and some other grants, so that I can go in and fix up large swaths of neighborhoods and get people feeling better about their neighborhoods, increase property values. So these measures, these are some of the issues that need to be addressed. Otherwise, the only way that you can solve this problem is to raise taxes. Okay.
Can I just...
That's your competition there.
About the incentives on the educational grants, it's in court right now. The courts are deciding that. As far as the blighted neighborhoods, we're doing it. Herbert Street, you've seen it, done over. Union Street, done over. Sagamore Street, we're having plans for a 170 unit apartment building. It's into 2015. I was involved with all this stuff, and I got a record to stand on. That's what I want to say.
Let me ask this generally. Isn't about 50% of the budget dedicated to the school department? So that can't be alternated, right? I mean, that can't be adjusted.
Can I also get back to...
Joe, I had one comment.
She was saying about...
My name is Ariana.
Okay, I'm sorry. About the blight that's taken place. And as Rich said, on a smaller scale, we're also working on that in all the neighborhoods. Jackson Street, Williams Ave, Timpson Street, Sewell Street. These are streets of my ward. Easton Ave, we're going in, we're taking dilapidated multifamily houses which serve no purpose at all anymore to the neighborhood. We have Neighborhood Development Corporation coming in, tearing these buildings down and putting single-family homes up, which are now becoming owner-occupied by people who are contributing to the community and also helping those little neighborhoods and little streets. People are starting to take some pride as to what's going on in their neighborhood. They're painting their houses, they're fixing them up. And through some no-interest grants and other things, they can go to the Lynn Housing Authority and they can put new windows up and new stairs and doors on. So we are doing that in the community. It's just not going to happen overnight. People have to, and you hate to use this word, people have to be patient, but It's just not going to happen because somebody's going to snap their fingers and say it is.
This. It doesn't happen overnight, but I am a goal setter. I am a strategist. And if I say that I'm going to go in and I'm going to fix up this whole street within a year or two, I will make sure it happens because I get things done. And everybody that knows me knows that that's how I operate.
Mayor.
As again, the old-time mayor, I wanted to just point out to the young lady that was just speaking, 40 years ago, the mayor who was on call 24/7, did not get longevity or any of those other things, was paid $16,000 a year. The Public Works Commissioner, of which I was before, had the largest department in the city, was paid $20,000 a year. So,
and how long ago was this? What year was this?
Public Works was 1968 to 73, and then in the mayor, 73 to 76. So what I'm saying is, and Joe has mentioned, you know, the spending and the entitlement problems that we have, that the cost of government has risen more rapidly than the rate of inflation.
That's right. That's right. And it's a problem. And it's a problem that we need to address, because when you think about those education incentive ordinances that the department has been receiving over the span of 12 or 15 years that they've been receiving it, that's multi-million dollars of tax revenue that could have been redirected towards all sorts of services, including fixing up a lot of our schools and our neighborhoods. So it's a problem, and it's a problem that needs to be addressed now. And if we don't get some new blood on that council, it's not going to happen.
Well, here's new blood. Rob?
What I'd like to say is what the mayor had pointed out is that the cost of running a city hasn't kept pace with the amount of revenue that we're able to generate. And a couple of things we need to work on are, number one is investing in our public schools. I can tell you this as a part-time real estate broker. I have a lot of hats that I wear. But as a part-time real estate broker, I talk to a lot of parents with young children who have a choice of moving to Lynn or moving to some other city or town, and they choose the other city or town because of how they feel about the school system. So investing in the school system, and the result of that is declining property values here in Lynn. So by investing in the schools programs and the school infrastructure, we are also increasing the tax base because we are gradually turning around the concern that parents have with property values. And also economic development as well increases the commercial tax base.
That's a hypothetical.
Those are the things we need to do that increase revenue without increasing the tax rate.
Let me throw a question to all of you that's a school committee question I asked last week. I want to see who's in favor of it. I'm saying, why, if you're so interested in education, then why not have an exam school? You can retrofit classical and do that, like they do Boston Latin, an exam school. And then, you know what? Parents in Lynn in Ward 1, by the way, Wayne, they're not going to send their kids to St. John's Prep at $20,000 a year. They're going to send them to that exam school, you know, which my granddaughters went to in Boston Latin and got full scholarships, 50 grand a year because of that. That's how you, Jess.
So,
you like that idea, Jesse?
I don't know about exam schools, but I definitely think we need to get more educational innovation going on in the city of Lynn. One of the things that Boston, you speak of Boston, one of the things that Boston's been very successful doing over the last several years is what they call in-district charters. These are partnerships between the school district and the teachers union that put new innovative schools in the Boston Public Schools. And these are some of the most successful schools in Boston right now. And I can say, my wife is the principal of one. They just had the second highest improvement in MCAS scores in the state. And
you can select
no, that's not. No. All of Boston's a lottery. To get into a high school in Boston, everybody is in a lottery. And so it's just, she's, in fact, her population is higher than the Boston average on ELA, on special education, and all those things. And their scores are higher than the average across the board. We need to get educational innovation going on in Boston or in Lynn. We need to have schools.
Tell me specifically what that innovation would be. I gave you a specific, an exam school.
Well, exam
you either
school,
like it or you don't like it.
Well, an exam school is going to be is going to pull the best students out of the,
Exactly.
of the school. So that
Precisely.
you
have a problem with that?
I think that what's better is to make it
Does
so
Tech
that
today pull certain types of students out of the Lynn school system that have certain skills and they do a wonderful job of it?
Yeah, but it's
that's
kids
an
that are
exam
going,
school basically.
But those are kids that are wanting to go into a VOTEC thing.
Well, what
I
about
think that
kids
we
who want to advance themselves? Why shouldn't they have the opportunity to go to a high-skill school like an exam school? That's the argument. Now, I just threw it out there. I don't want to get confrontational. Anybody like that idea or not like that idea? Yeah.
So I might say, Lynn Classical and Lynn English are two great schools. They put a lot of kids in a lot of colleges, Ivy League colleges. I'll match them up against most of the other schools in all the surrounding communities. Avon School, which is a grammar school, it's in my ward. It's one of the best, not just in the city, but in the state. Hood School, Ingalls School, both of them do unbelievable with their students. And now we're in the process of building a new middle school for that entire area of the city. And then next, it'll be Pickering. So we are investing money into our schools. We are working with our teachers. We have a budget in our school system of about $130 million a year. A majority of that money goes to paying salaries for teachers. You want to go in and tell teachers you're not going to make the same money you were making last year? We are very competitive to any other community. The problem also in Lynn is the amount of people that are moving into the city to get the services that we provide. We get every single year a couple hundred students that can't even speak English. And if they're in classes that they have to take the MCAS that year, they have to be brought up to speed. And if they don't pass the MCAS, we lose state funding. So Lynn does an unbelievable job with its kids and the education system that we have. Lynn, I'm not sure what the exact number of students are, but I think it's equal to all the schools in Lynn, in Salem, Peabody, Saugus, Revere. So I think we do a marvelous job here, as well as Boston or any other community.
Thanks, Joe. I just don't want people out there to think that we're sitting on our hands as city councilors with these schools. We've been very active. I've been there 14 years, and just before I got on, we built a brand new classical high school. Granted, it had some problems, probably shouldn't have gone there, but it's a brand new high school. Now in the pipeline, we've got the brand new Thurgood Marshall coming. Right behind it is coming Pickering. Back years ago, when Chipper Clancy was the mayor, we bonded $10 million. We did, most of that money went to schools, boilers, roofs, windows. So we're not sitting on our hands here as councilors. That's what we care about. We care about the schools. That's an important thing. I say it all the time. It's a reason people come to a city to live, and it's a reason people leave. You need good schools. We just bonded $4 million again. Money went to the schools. We're all about the schools. We're all about the kids on the council. We're not leaving anything behind. We're constantly thinking about the schools. So,
Jake?
Like, and also we need more jobs in the city. Like Darren said, people come here to get the services and they end up staying here, but there's not enough jobs for people here. That's why I'm really concerned about employment in our city. Our city can help provide jobs.
Think of something.
Can stimulate the economy in our city. That will create jobs and revenue for the city and income for the families. I think job is one of the most important aspect that we need to, build our cities up. That's what I believe. Thank you.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Does the city council have control of the educational budget, which at one time, before Proposition 2.5, the school committee could spend without restraint? To now,
Budget. Only the money that we give them in their budget.
Yeah, but you allocate, does the city council and the mayor and the city council together allocate X amount of funds, or can the school committee submit a budget? How's it work?
The budget.
There's a serious maintenance of effort requirement that has to be maintained at all times. So, and I think people need to be aware that you can't just lower it and raise it. There's a maintenance of effort that goes into the decision making around that, and it has a lot of factors, cherry sheet numbers and so forth. So you can't.
So that's difficult. I mean, that's complex, right? I mean, so when you were talking about management and audits, Ariana, you have to factor that, what Paul just talked, into your thinking.
Well, I already have. I know that we're working with half of the $266 million
Yeah.
in terms of the other city services.
Well, we don't even know sometimes when we're passing the budget what the state's going to be giving us, because they haven't even determined. And, you know, the last few years we've found out that every time we pass a budget, and when it comes to roads and things like that, Chapter 90 money to go in, the governor cuts it out of the budget. And the same thing with education. Yeah, it's happened the last 3 or 4 years. So, I mean,
So it's a guessing game.
kind of, yeah. You have to, yeah.
There's been over the last few years, there's been a 40% reduction in local aid.
Right.
40%.
Well, but still, if you look at the last 3 years of the budget, the monies have been increasing steadily. So that could be a combination of tax revenue from property tax increases, fines. So there's, you know, I'm sure that they have made adjustments for aid that comes in from the state.
The only thing is
Wait a minute, I don't think they have, because local aid, for instance, that you paid the streets, we can't get the streets paid because the Chapter 90 is not here. So that's not adjusted. That's money that's gone, and we don't have it. We're not going to spend money from the schools on it. So that's an incorrect answer.
So, and also with Chapter 90 money, I just want to say, if National Grid decides that they have to replace an entire line, say, down Essex Street, and they come in and they re-hot top the street after they're done, that comes out of that Chapter 90 money. So all the other side streets where we were trying to get sidewalks done and streets done and curbs can't be done because that money's being used by National Grid, which is a private company.
I don't understand that then. Why aren't we getting on National Grid if they're going to tear up our streets to take care of it?
And that's what we did down on Lewis Street, Broad Street, New Ocean Street.
But you just said that was Chapter 90.
But we made them come up with close to $1 million. They fought us for 9 months. We held up that entire project as a city council for 9 months. Until National Grid, they were going to take us into court. They brought lawyers in. They sat down and threatened us, and we held fast, and we got $780,000 from them to repave that entire area, on top of what they did.
It did cost $780,000 to repave.
It cost more than $1 million, but we still got $780,000 that we weren't going to get, and we got a brand new roadway, over 2 miles of roadway that we got, because of what the city council
And
did.
also on Union Street, and Paul Corrali can attest to this, we sat down with National Grid at Dunkin' Donuts, and we made them pay for the whole of Union Street, $750,000, and this month, they're gonna plant 36 trees at zero expense to the taxpayers of the city of Lynn. So we're doing our work.
So a ward councilor, which all you aspire, is really dependent on the DPW, because that's constituent service. That's being cut back. Funding is being cut back. Why do you want to be a ward councilor?
I tell you, it's a challenge, Joe, sometimes. It really is. It's a real challenge. And that's why we just stood on the budget with the mayor. We held her up for the DPW. Because that's, as a ward councilor, that's all your calls. It's trees, sidewalks, when it snows, getting plowed. It's all of it. It's all of it. DPW is the main ingredient, to not just the ward council, council at large is also to all of us. For us to provide the services to the people, for the services that they deserve, the DPW is an important part of it, and that's why it needs to be increased. And that's why we've been fighting for it.
Jack, go ahead. Then Richie, go ahead.
Okay. To answer your question, the reason why I want to be city council, ward councilor, because I have never been one, and the reason why I want to improve our city, our ward in general, and the place where I raised my family, and I want to make sure our city deserve the best, what we have to offer to them, and I would like to work very hard as a city councilor.
Yeah, I like being a city council for one main reason. If I can help someone and I have someone's life a little bit better, it makes me feel good.
If you just take a look at the city of Lynn in the last 20 years and the amount of money that's been invested in the upgrades, look at Lynn Shore Drive. I mean, that was done by the state. They came in and they spent 4 or 5 years doing that complete boulevard over at like $20 million, I think the cost was. That was back in the 90s. 90%, not 90, but about 75% of the city, we have the best water in the entire country right here in the city of Lynn because of the work that's been done in the last 20 years. And we still have a lot more that we have to do. We're starting to look at West Lynn to improve the water and the drainage systems that are over there. Our parks, Lynn Woods, the golf course. I mean, it's amazing what Lynn has to offer, and now it's starting to work in the schools by putting a new middle school in.
Oh, we got a caller. Sean, how are you? Property taxes. That's an interesting subject since I'm going to have to pay it November 1st. Sean? Hello, Sean.
Are we there?
Yeah, well, I empathize with you if you're going to be talking about the property tax. I keep thinking about that check I got to send out on November 1st.
That check is coming out very soon. Property tax, commercial and residential, is basically the number one way that the city gets their revenue, short of the state funding. One way to increase tax revenue in the city is to increase building, get more businesses, get more homes in the city. I have a specific question I'd like to ask Mr. Mendez. They tried to build some property on Green Street, and the council, Colucci, stood before the zoning board and asked to have some condominiums built over there that would increase the property value and for the street and the neighborhood, and also increase the tax base for the city. And he voted, made a motion to deny that. And I would just ask why he'd be running for council and trying to stop buildings being done in the city of Lynn.
Answer the question.
Absolutely. I think it's important to note that state that any time you build property, that is going to somehow increase the value of the neighborhood. And this is an example of where it isn't. What was being proposed is to put 6 3-bedroom condominiums, townhouse condominiums, with 12 parking spaces on 10,000 square feet, roughly 10,000 square feet. And if you saw the designs that I saw, I don't understand how these cars would have gotten in and out of the parking spaces. And there wasn't any place for snow to be stored in the winter. It was incredibly dense. The way that you can build and decline the value of a neighborhood is by increasing the incredible density that exists in that neighborhood. That Green Street neighborhood is a very densely populated neighborhood. What we need there is like what we have in Ward 3, what we fought for with neighborhood development, to build single-family homes with large yards and lots of green space, not large condominium developments being shoehorned into where basically a backyard for a single-family house should be. That project actually had approximately 90 residents from that immediate area sign a petition in opposition to that project. The neighbors came out to that meeting regularly and to voice their opposition to that project. And they needed to have a voice on the Board of Appeals as well. I didn't think it was a good fit for that neighborhood. I wouldn't want that in my neighborhood, and I just had to vote my conscience. I felt it was a bad proposal. Nothing bad about the proposers. I think they're fine, upstanding citizens, business owners in the city of Lynn, but the project itself was bad for the neighborhood.
Okay. Ward 4.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I disagree, because if you go down Suffolk Place right now, right off of Suffolk Street, there's 4 beautiful townhouses, a little close together, and they all sold for over $250,000. Right on Union Street, it's in the works, on the corner of Union and Union Court. There'll be 5 single-family homes, just like the infill housing on Union Street. So I think Lynn is a small city. We don't have the luxury of like Peabody, for big box stores in downtown Lynn. We have to make do with what we have. If we have a good plan that's suitable and people buy it, it does increase the property value. That's what I believe.
We got a follow-up. I'm sorry, Sean, you have a follow-up question? We only have about 10 minutes left in the show. Go ahead.
Rick threw me off. He did a good thing there, speaking up in favor of it. There was 168 signatures brought to that meeting before Ron Mendez. The mayor spoke in favor of it with a letter. The Director of Community Development sent a letter in favor of it, and as Council Clucci said, he stood in favor of this project. This project was also approved back in 2007 for 5 units, which was exactly the same amount of square footage at the time. It was just the buildings were made smaller so that they could add a unit, and I just don't understand why it is no longer viable for the street, and you know, when it was back in 2007. And for him to stand up and ask everybody, as all the city officials and many of the neighbors wanted to see that there, to stand there and make a motion to deny. That's all. Just curious. We need tax revenues, and you know, we need to get building done in here, and we need the councilors that are going to stand up and help build projects in the city and get our tax base much higher.
I think I got your point. Thanks. Anyways, didn't accept your explanation, apparently. You live, or you grew up in a ward, or you're the ward councilor to a ward where I grew up. And talk about development, you got Sagamore Street working, and I grew up in that neighborhood. And if you talk about diversity, Ward 4 has condominium development and also single family. You spoke about it on your opening.
Right.
What's the state of Sagamore? I mean, that's a revenue producer, right?
That's 170 units, apartment building, all market rent with stores underneath. It'll be done by 2015.
Okay.
Right down the road, Suffolk Place, 4 beautiful condos. That place is going to look like, that's the gateway. It's going to be beautiful. Union Street's going to be beautiful. And right in whose property you're talking about, it'll be like probably $50,000 or $60,000 worth of taxes to the city of Lynn.
And Mary has a question.
Go ahead, Mary. Whoever she is.
For Rich Colucci, as a matter of fact. How fortuitous is this? Hi, Mary Ann. Mary Ann. Richie's smiling, waiting for your question. I guess she doesn't want to. Anybody have any comments on Sagamore Street?
Sure, I would just say I think that's a great project. That's an example of smart growth, where you can build something with increased density, but it adds value to the neighborhood. See, the difference between the Suffolk Court condominiums and Green Street, Suffolk Court, all of these condominiums actually have frontage right on the street. But the Green Street, the front of the condominiums way in the back. So
got it. Hi, Mary Ann. We were waiting on you. You have a question for Rich Colucci? Mary Ann? Hello?
Hello?
How are you tonight? Mary Ann, a question. Turn down your TV and ask the question of Richard. I don't think she heard me.
Mary, why don't you try to call back, and we'll go back to the...
Mayor, what about development in 40 years ago? I mean, was it different than it is in 2013? Same principle, isn't it?
Yeah, same principles play, yeah.
Yeah. All right, we're going to have to move on. We only have a couple of... How much time do we have? Give me the time. It's difficult. We got about 6 minutes, that's it? 5 minutes? 30 seconds each. Make your closes. Make your pitch.
Please keep it to 30 seconds. We'll start with Wayne.
That's it, 30 seconds.
Wayne Losey, Ward 1 Councilor. We were just hearing about development. There's a much larger development bordering Lynn called Boulderwood Subdivision. I've been opposed to that subdivision, and I'm going to continue to advocate for the residents there. And I want to continue as your Ward Councilor. I enjoy this job, and I hope you'll consider me on November 5th. Thank you.
Darren, I got you right this time.
Yep, thank you, Joe. Talking about development, take a ride down Easton Ave. Take a look at the old Maxons building. There are 7 thriving new businesses that have gone in there in the last 2 years. The old Pat Nice building, McGough Plumbing is in there. Take a ride down Columbia Ave. You'll see 9 condominiums where when I became councilor, it looked like the ghetto down there. People, every single person on that street had a for sale sign on their house. Today, every single one of them still live there because we changed the neighborhood around. Take a ride down Easton Ave and take a look at the house that we just built right across the street from Avon School. It was a 2-family that had been sitting there for years unoccupied, and the bank took it over. It was a disgrace to the community. I've brought in tons of new jobs, over $10 million in the last 8 years in single-family homes being built in Ward 3. So I'm asking to continue that, and please vote for me. Thank you.
Diana.
Hi, I'm Diana Chakutis, candidate for Ward 5. I have no accomplishments yet, so I'm not going to be as long as these two. I just want you to consider me on November 5th. I've been walking the streets, knocking doors. I've met quite a few people, so just please consider me on November 5th.
Hi, I'm Jesse Jager, and I've really enjoyed the last 6 months of being out in the neighborhood and talking to Lynn, my neighbors, about their concerns and their vision for a greater Lynn moving forward. I ask for your vote if you want dynamic ideas, real plans to move Lynn forward. That's what I bring to the table. So please visit my website at jessejager.com to learn more, and I respectfully ask for your vote on November for your Ward 2 seat. You've got a choice this year.
Ariana.
Thank you. Tuesday, November 5th is going to be a very defining moment in our city's history. My ward has one of the lowest voter turnouts in the whole city. I urge all of my fellow residents in Ward 4 to come out on November 5th. You can get a ride from my campaign staff if you need one. To learn more about my platform and my background, please go to www.electariana.com. From there, you can contact me, ask for a ride, and I look forward to working with you in the near future. Thank you.
Ron.
Sure. You know, listening to the incumbents tonight, you'd think that everything was just swimmingly well in the city of Lynn, and we know it isn't. We know that we can do better. We know that we need to raise the bar. You know, I know incumbents have to say that everything's going great because that's their record. But the reality is that we know that Lynn is behind the 8 ball when it comes to investing in schools, when it comes to investing in infrastructure. These are all things that we know, and we can do better, and we need to do better. And we need a change in leadership in the City Hall in order to make that happen. I'm offering that change. I think I have the experience and the knowledge from other communities that I can bring into Lynn to help do things differently, smarter, and better. If you'd like, you can check out my website at www.ronmendez.com.
Thank you. I'm Bill Trahant, Ward 2 Councilor. I've been there for 14 years. Over that span, I've replaced all our playgrounds, the last one being done now under the $4 million bond that we just passed. I just put, in the last 2 years, 5 new homes in front of the Ingalls School. We did a major cleanup and, redevelopment down there in that area. We had a, serious rodent problem, cleaned it up. Since I've been there, we put a brand new Buchanan Bridge, did it over. The Linton Road, Stanwood area, the Rotary, we got a $1 million grant from the state. Totally did that over to fix the traffic problems that we were having there. So I've been a hands-on counselor. I'm out there when the floods. I'm out there in the snow. I'm out there all the time. The wind, the trees are down. I'm out there, always working with the neighborhood. So thank you.
Again, my name is Debbie Plunkett. I'm a candidate for Ward 1 City Councilor. I will advocate for every neighbor up in the Boulderwood development. I will fight to keep services at Union Hospital, do everything I can on the Lynn City Council to make sure Union stays right where it is, as it is, and not eliminate all the services. I will fight and be a strong voice for every single person in Ward 1. Knocked on your doors, not once, not twice, many times, 3 and 4 times, asking for your vote. I will be a strong voice. I hear your concerns. I know you've been on a list for many, many months and over a year. I hear you. I will speak on your behalf at the Lynn City Council meeting. I can assure you of that. I'm accountable, I'm accessible, and I'm available on a 24-hour, 7 days a week. I will be a full-time counselor, and I ask for
Former city elected officer. 3. Thank you, City Voice. I'm sorry, and the current candidate, Crowley, yeah. I respectfully ask everyone for your vote, for your consideration of me to be your next Ward 5 City Councilor. I want to represent everyone fairly, and I want to be a proactive voice. I want to...
I hate to do this. You're not even getting into it, Richie. I'm sorry to both. We're just plain out of time. Until we meet again, good night.
I got screwed out of this one, huh?
But you know what? Why don't you just say a few words anyway?
That's what you get for coming in late.
Next item time.
Vote for me, please.
Talking down 5-zip, guys.